So there is the scene in San Francisco as we get ready for race number 7, day number 4, with the Kiwis just 4 wins away from claiming the cup. Conditions look fantastic. Wind is picking up, peaking at 17.2 knots, but holding steady at about 16.5 knots. Jimmy Spithill, Sir Ben Ainsley, and Tom Slingsby trying to work their magic and get the Americans a win. The Golden Gate Bridge, one of the most iconic shots in all of San Francisco, but right now everyone is focused on the water. Can the defenders of the cup get a victory and push the Kiwis, especially on leg number 3? That is the key. The Americans do have poor entry, so they will have a 10-second advantage getting into the start box. And the question will be, do they play the same tactic next time, knowing that Dean Barker's probably not going to fall for the block on the hook?
Well, it's all about that timing. Jimmy Spithill did it beautifully in that last start. He went back in a position and at a time that really took options away from Dean Barker. Let's see if he can do it again.
Maybe a bit early here.
Just kill a lap behind.
Yeah.
I think about 12, mate.
Yeah, 12 will be a good number.
Here we go.
No need to push it. A bit early, maybe.
Strong flood current. The boats are going to want to work on the windward end. That will be advantageous at the start.
So Spithill just a little bit late getting in, does not fully utilize that 10 seconds, but the Kiwis late as well.
It seems so obvious, Todd, but it's really difficult to nail these things exactly at the buoy, exactly at the time you want to be there.
Okay, you're on the line here.
90 seconds away from the start as we check in on the water with Gary Jobson.
Todd, I like the fact that New Zealand's giving a little bit more separation this time around. That should help them out.
Hey, hold. He's tracking underneath. We are 2 overlaid on Jimmy.
15 to kill for the line.
Only 15 to kill for the line, according to Ray Davies on Team New Zealand. Interesting that you can see where sometimes the tactician's comments or Ben Ainsley's comments are very different from what Kostecki is in this pre-start.
I like New Zealand's position. Being the windward is going to be very helpful on his first leg.
So coming up on 35 seconds, Kenny, and this time the Americans are much deeper, lower in the box. Have they given up a prime position to the Kiwis?
Well, I think that it's time and distance now. This will be a reasonably even start. There's really no way that they can hook, I don't believe, from this position. This is going to be an even start. Something that Oracle has shown that they have boat speed on this first leg. They can make it stick.
And with 10 seconds to go, both of them point towards the line here for race number 7, day number 4 of the America's Cup.
Perfect start for Emirates Team New Zealand, exactly on the gun.
So the Kiwis get the better start, but not by much, and the disturbed air heads the way of Team USA.
Boat speed contest right now. Can the Kiwis get over the top of Oracle and give them wing wash like in race 1? And it looks like they've done it.
So it's Team New Zealand, the first to mark number 1. They have the advantage. What will the Americans do to try to counter the speed of Emirates Team New Zealand?
Pressure down here.
36 win, guys.
Okay. Let's set up here.
Stand by, guys.
Stand by. Whatever you like, Jimmy.
Right, Tommy. No! Yes! He's poured down. He's gone. 20.
And the Americans seen that Dean Barker was setting up for that early jibe. They decided to go first. Ken, was it a smart move?
Well, he has to go. This is okay creating a little split right now. You actually want to get out of the other boat's way if you think you're faster. They had a really good jibe on Oracle there. And so let's see if they can set themselves up into position to get down over the top of Team New Zealand.
Guys, get him over here.
Sort of speed ceiling coming. 35. No, just build. Here, Carl.
I've been keeping it normal here.
Yeah, maybe 34 should be okay.
Get pressure coming back on you now.
Just fantastic boat speed contest right now. Let's just hope the Batmobile here, that Oracle Team USA, is a little quicker on this run. That's what they're thinking. All their supporters are thinking right now. I can tell you that.
Traveling at about 36 knots. That's roughly 41.4 miles per hour.
35 seconds.
I think we'll cross, but we should be set up to match. He's all yours, Dino.
Let's go back and look at the start one more time, and this time Dean Barker, Ray Davies hit it almost perfectly at the line.
Yeah, but Jimmy Spithill, he was looking over his shoulder, and he actually watched Team New Zealand pull the trigger before him. I'm very surprised he didn't turn down a hair earlier. A lot of times as a helmsman, you kind of match the other guy. He hesitated a little bit here at the last second before he pulled the trigger, and that was all the distance Dean Barker needed off the starting line.
Taking a look on virtual eye, here was the start, what you're talking about, just that little dip.
Good pressure out of it.
First cross of this race, and the Kiwis maintain their lead, and they will send back more of the unwanted gift of wing wash.
Emirates Team New Zealand isn't exactly pulling away, but they're holding. If they can hold into this mark, they'll love their position going up on leg 3.
On the water, Gary Jobson. Gary, what are you seeing from your vantage point on the committee boat?
Well, as you look at the two boats, notice that they have very different shaped forward sails. The jib, very wide and low on the Oracle boat, very tall and narrow on the New Zealand boat. So a different philosophy in that forward sail.
There's the illustration, just exactly what Gary Jobson's talking about. Ken, as a man who does this for a living, who has the right sail?
Well, completely different concepts is right, but it's really set up by, it's called a self-tacking jib on Emirates Team New Zealand. Many people think one of the reasons they tack so well is because the jib tacks automatically and they can use more guys on the grinding pedestals. Completely different philosophy on Oracle. They have to actually tack it manually every single time, like all of our conventional boats.
Come on, boys.
Go weak, go weak.
Okay, we're going to go to the lay line and do the leg split we can for the left.
Copy.
Sorry about that, John.
Go weak, go weak.
Not the best jibe on Oracle. We saw him splash down a little bit. You heard Slingsby say, sorry for that jibe. Not exactly sure what went wrong, but it wasn't their best.
10 seconds.
5. Stand by. Button. Go forward.
There we go.
The yellow line is the lay line, the direct line to the next mark. There you see gate number 2. This is leg 2 of 5, and this is not good news for Oracle Team USA. The Kiwis have the lead, and their strongest leg throughout this regatta has been the one coming up.
For the left-hand split. Left-hand split.
Splitting left.
Go straight, go straight.
Straight in, boys. Straight in. Go wing, guys.
Straight in.
Go wing, guys. Go.
The wind picking up to 20 knots, holding steady at 18.7 at gate number 2. It will be Emirates Team New Zealand, the challengers. Which way will they go? They opt off to go to the right and head closer to shore, and it looks like the Americans will follow.
Now let's see if the Americans try one of these foiling tacks that they tried to pull off yesterday. This is a position where it could work. Just roll right into attack.
Stand by.
Stand by, hold in.
Okay, come in.
3, 2, 1. There we go.
So on leg number 3, the Americans are the first attack. Can they work out their problems on leg 3 and turn things around against the Kiwis?
Up doing fast numbers.
About 25, 4, 5,
25 knots.
Well, the distance has actually come down just a little bit, Ken, so they're holding just under 90 meters. The Americans trail the Kiwis. The problem is, though, when they go upwind, they seem to lose so much speed, and again, being dictated by the Kiwis and what they do.
Yeah, if you didn't know better right now, if this was the first race of the series, you'd be thinking, man, we got a boat race right here. But history has told us, history has proven right now that this is where the Kiwis just kick it into gear. Let's see if it happens again.
And the white lines coming down through the screen, you talked about that before. Explain that to the folks at home.
Yeah, a little bit of a cone here. Not as much of a cone situation that the lessening of the current right in behind Alcatraz Island. It's not quite as big a deal today as we've seen in the past, but it was slightly noticeable there before we went down to this low shot.
So negative heading him all the way to boundary.
The setup here is not great for Oracle, though. They're going to have to tack at the boundary. We're going to see Emirates Team New Zealand tack right on top of them as they try to clear out.
So those blue triangles, that is current. The bigger triangles being stronger current. And there's what you're talking about, Ken Reed, the cone. Less current behind Alcatraz Island, which means less resistance going upwind. And it looks like the Kiwis are going to hold on to this for as long as they can.
Well, it's like they're sailing on a conveyor belt. You know, that's essentially what current is. They're sailing on a conveyor belt. You want to sail on a conveyor belt that's going a little bit slower than the other guy.
Man on the water, Gary Jobson, how's the current for you?
Well, the current's increasing and strong, and I like the New Zealand move. Stay right, stay out of the current, and just keep pushing the Americans back out into the middle of the bay. They'll continue to gain doing this.
Alcatraz Island there on the right side of your screen, a place that no one wants to go except for sailors as they are looking for current relief. And it is the Kiwis on leg 3 of 5, race 7, day 4. New Zealand leads America 5 wins to 1. Kiwis just need 4 more victories and they will take away the America's Cup.
You can see on these tacks, Todd, they've actually improved their tacks. They are getting that same look that Emirates Team New Zealand does. That weather hull pops right out of the water coming out of the tack. But like Gary reported earlier, they have so much less volume in the hull that's actually still in the water. It kind of digs in, a little submarining as it comes out onto the new tack.
Tack if nothing changes. Yeah. Pushing hard.
Man on the wheel, number 14, that is Dean Barker, 40 years of age. Just to his left is number 10, that is Ray Davies. And Ray Davies constantly looking back at where his opponent is and constantly looking on the water to look for pressure and better current.
No, he's not tacking, he is not tacking. He goes straight. 20. Boundary tack anyway, yep.
So Ray Davies, number 10, he's the tactician for the Kiwis. And on the right hand, the far right of your screen, that is Ben Ainsley, normally a helmsman. He is now the tactician working in concert with Tom Slingsby.
You saw Ray Davies actually jump into the wing trim position. They started to think about tacking and then they stopped. And then they were going again and they stopped. Obviously that's his position when they tack, and he had to probably sit there trimming the wing a little longer than desired.
And once again, if you're a fan of Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the Cup, the kryptonite has been exposed yet again. Leg 3, they were trailing by 80 meters. They now trail by 210 meters.
Just simply more of the same. Better boat upwind. Emirates Team New Zealand.
10 seconds.
And for the folks watching at home, is this a case of the Kiwis have a better boat or they're better sailors on the water on the upwind leg?
Well, sailors help create better boats. Let's put it that way. I mean, it's a team effort, and why a boat is fast or slow. Obviously, at this stage, you look at them and you say they didn't do something wrong, do something right, sorry, in their preparation, anticipating a situation like this and this incredible dominance upwind by Emirates Team New Zealand.
It's a good part of the world out here. T-tack, we just roll with them now, right? Yeah. Otherwise, we just keep going, yep. Yeah, exactly. Keep it simple. That's it going here all the time, boys. Going really well.
You know, two things that are very interesting, Todd, is how relaxed Ray Davies is right now. Speaking from experience, when you're this fast, it's really fun being a tactician. Just really relaxed tone to his voice. Yeah, we can tack when you want. Yeah, whatever, go for it. Whereas there's going to be a little more tension back on Oracle right now.
Meanwhile, the Iceman, the man with number 14, the skipper and helmsman, Dean Barker, really does not change expressions whether he's winning or losing. So attack comes from Oracle Team USA. There you see those beautiful big wings on both of these boats. And fortunately for Emirates Team New Zealand, they are just a little bit faster, much to the dismay of the Americans. For more on the wings, we check in with Gary Jobson. Jobbo?
Well, if you look down on New Zealand or Oracle here, notice the platform under the wing. It's very narrow, and that platform underneath is very important. It creates an end plate, and you can actually get extra power, increasing the sail area. But notice how narrow that is, and when we get a chance to look at the New Zealand boat, it's much wider. I think the Kiwis have done a better job configuring their platform to get an end plate effect, which gives you more speed.
You are watching race number 7 of the 34th America's Cup. The Kiwis lead the day and lead the overall. Can the Americans come back and make a race of it?
Yeah, I agree all the way in here.
And there is the distance between your leaders, Emirates Team New Zealand and Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup. And this is going quickly as to script. Once again, leg 3 going back upwind. The Kiwis just seem to have extra speed.
Nice lefty here on you now. Yeah, happy with 24s in this left-hander.
Say no normal targets, 25.
Is that okay? It's tacked up there.
Emirates Team New Zealand with a 5-1 lead on the Americans in wins, and they need 4 more victories, and they will take away the America's Cup back to the great nation of New Zealand. And they look very good here in race number 7. Kenny, Todd Harris, Gary Jobson, Ken Reed here in San Francisco, and the story is played out yet again. It is leg number 3 that has been the Achilles heel of the Americans.
He won't lay from there. Oh! Another 30 seconds.
New Zealand literally flying upwind, almost foiling here as the breeze has picked up to 18 nautical miles per hour. You can see the leeward hull on the left just about lifting up. This boat is really going fast.
Nearly 30 the other way.
This is all part of a playbook for Emirates Team New Zealand. At this stage, they're going to try to just minimize maneuvers and make sure they keep Oracle pinned to the short side of the racetrack, which is the left side, over towards the city front.
Easy lay line here.
Just so smooth on these tacks. They really make it look easy. They're going to go up to what they're calling the left-hand side lay line. The boundary shouldn't come into play before they get there. One more tack in, and it's going to be tough to catch these guys, Todd.
If you've been watching our broadcast, and how could you not be, this is almost like Groundhog Day, though, because every day, leg number 3, whether the Americans have the lead at Mark II or not, this is what seemingly always plays out on leg 3. The Kiwis find an extra gear, make one less tack, and they're gone.
Just looked to me like Dean Barker got tired of getting beat on that start, you know, and all of a sudden you give these guys a lead, and if there's one thing they've proven since the beginning of the Louis Vuitton series is they don't give up leads ever.
Nice gains up there. Hey, right gate. .45 to boundary after the mark. 45 to boundary.
Beautiful shot of the Golden Gate Bridge, and there is 56-year-old Grant Dalton. He's known as Daltz. He's the general manager of Emirates Team New Zealand. And Gary, not many guys would go out and shop for a 56-year-old grinder, but he certainly has paid dividends.
Well, and as important as grinding, the fact is he's a spiritual guru of the boat, big brother. Anybody gets a little nervous, Grant Dalton's the guy that fixes it. I talked to him yesterday, and I said, I hope you're going to stay on for all the rest of the races, because I know you like to take the second race off. And he said, well, until you told me that, I was going to take a race off. But it's so important for him to be there. The only race they've lost and was when he was not on the boat.
Traveling at 22 knots, 25.3 miles an hour. And once again, it's the Kiwis, the first to gate number 3, and the lead has ballooned to over 400 meters as the Americans with this shot are nowhere in sight.
He's sitting on the tag, no problem.
So as Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand speed away, the Americans can only look, and they still have 200 meters before they get to the gate, and that clock will continue to run, meaning they will continue to be in the rear view mirror of Emirates Team New Zealand. At gate number 3, the Americans finally make it into the 3-boat length circle, and now the good news is, Ken, they can choose wherever they want to go. The bad news is they trail Emirates Team New Zealand for the second time today in excess of 50 seconds.
Really not much you can do at this stage. This is a tough spot. Being in a slower boat upwind is just never fun, especially in such a world stage like this.
You talk about the money spent, the time spent, the technology involved, and the Americans just seem to have no answer for Emirates Team New Zealand and the speed they exhibit, especially on leg 3 of this 5-leg race.
Really good on our bow, yeah. Lower same than him, big gains.
Back in San Francisco for our friends watching in the Southern Hemisphere, this is great news. Emirates Team New Zealand is ahead of the Americans by more than 1,000 meters, and they are traveling at more than 35 knots. Fresh off a victory in the first race today, Dean Barker, Ray Davies and company are plowing ahead, looking to pick up their 6th victory, which would leave them just 3 short of winning this year's America's Cup.
We've talked in the past about perfect races and whether you can actually even sail a perfect race. You're going to look at this one right from the starting gun and say, man, there wasn't much we could have done much better if you're a Kiwi at this stage.
A rare moment for these guys to catch their wind as they have an enormous lead on Oracle Team USA. So it's play it safe mode now for Dean Barker and Ray Davies. And wow, you got to talk about the course and how it's been so favorable for New Zealand, Gary. Would you say it's skewed?
Well, right now it's almost a direct course going downwind, which helps New Zealand out, taking away the passing lanes. But one of the things, we're right behind New Zealand, is how much they change course depending on the wind. They get a little gust of wind, more pressure, they bear away. A little lighter spot, they come up, altering course 20 to 30 degrees at times.
And there you see it on virtual eye, Kenny. We're looking at the wind blowing in as well as the current Alcatraz Island, and talking to what Gary was mentioning there about the course.
Yeah, there's certainly been a little more southerly breeze which comes off the land, off the shoreline of San Francisco, and creates more of a one-sided racetrack. Yeah, starboard tack downwind is considerably longer than port tack, and when you take away these passing lanes downwind for the boat behind, that's never a good thing.
So basically what you're looking at is a drag race between New Zealand and America, and without having to make any jives or any turns going downwind, that man, Ray Davies, can plot a course almost directly to mark number 4, and it's a straight shot.
Straight shot is a tactician's best friend. You know, Todd, we were talking about Grant Dalton earlier. The first cup that these guys won in 1995, Peter Blake was the CEO, the famous Peter Blake. He didn't do one race. He was on board just like Grant Dalton. He didn't do one race in that whole series, and they lost that race. Grant Dalton, CEO this time around, doesn't do one race. That's the only one they lose. I don't think there's a chance Grant Dalton gets off this boat again.
You know, Ken, when I was over the compound yesterday, when you walk in the front entrance at Emirates Team New Zealand, there's a picture of Peter Blake, a reminder of what a great man he was to all members of the team every time they walk through that door.
Peter Blake, a winner of round the world races, a winner of the America's Cup, one of the great New Zealand sportsmen of all time, really.
Still work to be done for Emirates Team New Zealand and that man, Dean Barker, but they are inching closer to taking the cup back to New Zealand. And at this point, you'd have to say, well, clearly they're the faster boat out there. They're better on downwind, they're better on upwind. They've kind of got the starts, a 50-50 proposition, but when you're this fast, Kenny, they can split the starts with Oracle Team USA.
You know, the one thing I think the Oracle program never thought of is this boat-on-boat, hand-to-hand combat, what that would be like trying to tack this boat. Gary brought up a great point this morning. It's the amount of volume in the hulls, and that clearly has allowed the Kiwis to tack better. And it could just be the fatal flaw of the design team.
Emirates Team New Zealand immediately goes to foils as the Americans have yet to make it to mark number 4. They have closed the gap, but they are still trailing by more than 800 meters. On the final leg of the last race of the day, Emirates Team New Zealand sailing clear in 39 knots, or about 44, 45 miles an hour.
Wow. This is a huge win. This is devastating for the Americans, and for the Kiwis, just more of the same.
Ken, it makes me wonder, do you go back to John Kostecki for Saturday's race, or do you stay with Ben Ainsley?
I'm not sure the tactician had much to do with this one, Gary.
So after 4 days of racing, it is an absolute Kiwi whitewash. They lead at 6-1 as they pick up their second win on the day.
Emirates Team New Zealand Race Committee, can you please stand back to the door? Here's the chance so you do your TV interviews clear.
Dean Barker and company, congratulations on a masterful job. This time they did get the start, never trailed for all 5 legs, and their lead ballooning up to over 1,000 meters.
Even though they won the first race of today, Todd, you saw kind of a disgusted look. These guys are perfectionists, and Dean Barker did not want, that was a kind of a humiliating start in the first race today. He sure made up for it in the second race.
We're going to do our flyby now so we can keep going. Just do our flyby now so we can keep going.
Jimmy Spithill talking about the flyby. They'll go by and wave to the crowd, but the Americans will finish in second place for the second time today, more than a minute behind Emirates Team New Zealand.
Turn back when you